come on. You know, it's just absolutely absurd, the history lesson that we get from school that tries to tell us that the World's Fair in Chicago was built in 2 years. First of all, they didn't have the population in Chicago to build this that fast. Not even close. If they had built this city out of paper mache, it would have taken them longer. All of the water that surrounds everything, it is absurd. It's a lie. We are being lied to. These are actual, real photos from a book printed before 1940. These are real photographs, okay? Now tell me, how did they build this in 2 years? They claim that all of this material is temporary. This is not temporary material, okay? There is no way there is this much design and detail in temporary material. Now, who is this guy? You know, who are these statues? Who are these people? We'll never know because they buried it. They buried our history and they're not telling us the truth. All of this was made with stone. Tell me, how did they do this detail without power tools? Can anyone answer that? Because I can't. How did they do this intricate detail without power tools in 2 years? How did they move these buildings in 2 years? I'm going to explain it. If you stay with me right now, watch this full episode on YouTube and Rumble. How's it going, everybody? My name's Andy. Today, we're going to be talking about the ridiculously absurd situation that we have with the World's Fair. Okay? With the World's Fair in Chicago. With the Great Fire in Chicago, with the whole situation, with the fact that they say that 600 acres and over 200 ridiculous looking, miraculous buildings were built in 2 years for the World's Fair, which is insane. The reason they say that is because they think that the city, or they say that the city was temporarily built. It was all temporary structures. That's what they say. That's what the mainstream belief is. Now, I'm going to show you 100% proof that is nonsense. I have scoured libraries, the internet, and gone on a serious search for real, authentic photos of this fair. Some of these photos are digitally enhanced to make them look, added color to them to make them look much nicer, but some of them aren't. Some of them don't look as nice because they're old-ass photos. But bear in mind that we're going to be, there are 50 photos here, and I want to scroll through each one of these and talk about them because it's absurd to even consider that they built this thing in 2 years. What I'm going to show you is, even if they built this place out of paper mache, it couldn't have been done in 2 years, number one. So something in that timeline is lying. We'll go even deeper because if you actually consider the population size in that time, in that location, it couldn't have been built. You gotta just use your head and start to consider numbers. And then also we're going to look into other town populations and just all over the weird coincidences that these exact structures at this World's Fair, the exact buildings, replicas, were in several places all over the United States at the same time in the country, and that they all burned down. Something doesn't add up, okay? And I've been just looking into it, and this is, I think, a good place to start to look because, if you start to hear about Tartaria or look into it, if you just look into that on its own, you might think that's insane, right? That's batshit crazy. And I'm starting to even think it's getting crazier than, it's just getting deep, man, because this was not built in 2 years. It was not built in 20 years. If you consider the amount of material, the lack of resources that these people had, okay, they didn't even have power tools, for Christ's sake. They built this they couldn't have possibly built it in even 20 years. 22 years prior was the Great Chicago Fire. So everything was destroyed then too. So they either have to prove to me and my audience right now that they built this place in 2 years or at least under 20. And I'll prove to you that it's both just ridiculous, honestly. Ridiculous. Just the landscaping and the water containment that they did in all of everything. It's unbelievable. So let's go. We're gonna do it right now. Hit subscribe, hit like, watch my other videos. I am shattering the Matrix because this is ridiculous. The lies have gone too far, all right? This is going to be on Rumble and YouTube because I will probably be taken off YouTube shortly. I get deplatformed regularly, okay? But thank you all for joining. I am psyched. Let's do this.
All right, what's going on? So I just want to start by showing you Google, actually what they have to say, because it's so absurd that Google and mainstream science can say, mainstream science, mainstream history, mainstream, all of it, it's all bull. They say in little more than 2 years, working with America's most noted architects and designers, Burnham developed America's most spectacular World's Fair of the 19th century. All right, now let's see if this looks like 2 years. Come on. All right, so let's take a look at this here. Does this look to you like it was put up temporary? Made of stone and marble? But it's temporary, huh? Doesn't look temporary to me. Look at the intricacy. Look at the design. How did they do this in 2 years? Wait till you see size comparisons with the people standing next to it. It's ridiculous. It's totally insane. All right, so look at this. It's funny. It's funny when you see it, because when you start to see this stuff, you're going to see it in everything, and you're going to just laugh now. When I watch the news, I laugh. When I watch anything, I laugh. I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Look at the size of these people. Look at these buildings, okay? These were made of marble and granite, all right? These were demolished on purpose. And another very bizarre fact is that these buildings, these replicas, were all over the United States. All over. I'm not kidding you, literally. They were in South Carolina, Florida, St. Louis, Chicago, California, Texas, New York City, San Francisco. In the early 1800s. How? How? Are you looking at the size of these buildings? Look at the people versus the size. We didn't have the equipment to do it. We didn't. It's just, and why they're all torn down. They tore down all of them and blamed them on fires. Not to mention, like, granite and marble don't burn, but I guess you can just say anything really these days, literally. And that's part of it, man. If you can convince people of batshit insane things at a very young age, they'll believe anything you say for the rest of your life. You are a slave. So you just got to start pulling some threads. And what's this whole thing, like, the reason why, again, I believe this is a very important thing to figure out is because if we know that they didn't do this in 2 years, obviously, give me a break, that means mainstream narrative lies. So now we start asking why, and then we start asking what else. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just kicking the shit out of anything that I think has holes in it. I'm just poking the living shit out of things the best that I can. That's what I'm doing. So if you like that, hit subscribe, hit follow. So this is one of my, look at the people. Look at the size of the people compared to these buildings. Now, they said 2 years they built these in 2 years. So that just makes you wonder why the lies, okay? And again, I'll say this, I said it before, but just to remind everyone, right? 22 years before this fair, 22 years before, this whole city burnt down to the ground. According to all of the mainstream, anything you can possibly look up, there were, at that time of the fire, there were 300,000 people in Chicago, and half of them lost their houses. Half of them were just messes after that fire, rebuilding their own homes, all that. There is no way on earth they could have done this with the number of people that are there, and with obviously with all of the things they had to do to take care of themselves. You get what I'm saying? Like, if your house burns down, you don't build palaces for no one. Doesn't make any sense. That's all I'm saying. So I start to really question things, because why are you lying? Now, I'm not going to get into that in this video. This video is not about that. This video is showing you that the World's Fair, there is so much truth in these photos, and if you are willing to take 10, 15 minutes and take a look at this, this could be something that helps you find your piece of thread to pull, because I'm telling you right now, we're being lied to. Now, I saved almost like the best for last, and this isn't last as in this is all the pictures that I have. This is last because I'm trying to do these mini docs, 10 to 15 minute series, right? Because I think I can expose tons of lies on tons of subjects, and I watched so much footage in some of these documentaries. I mean, the last one I watched was 6 hours, so it's just so much information. I had to watch the thing so many times, over and over and over again. I spent months watching this thing, okay? Over and over and over to learn it, because I wanted to learn it. But I'm telling you, and I go to the library. I go to many libraries all over the place. Like, my fiance is a librarian. Actually, I met her in a library, and the people at all the libraries around me think I'm crazy because I'm always going in there. I'm just a crazy person that researches stuff in libraries. But that's because they're getting rid of books. They're throwing books away, man. They're literally, Genghis Khan used to do that. He'd raid a whole town and then burn their books right away. Burn the books. Like, that's a known tactic of an enemy. And people don't want to wake up. But that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm out here doing. I'm out here fighting the good fight, showing people that we are being lied to on such just a ridiculous level. And I mean, look at all this stuff. Look at this stuff. It's just so crazy to say 2 years, to say 20 years. Look how long it takes a giant city nowadays to build one building. Takes years, and that's with cranes and tons of skilled workers with power tools. You're talking chisels, hammers. Come on. What are we talking about here? It's just ridiculous. We have to let go of these ridiculous concepts, because this could not possibly happen, and if it can, prove it. Someone go out there and prove that you can build this in 2 years. Please, for the love of God, it can't be done. Now, not only did they have buildings, but it was just never-ending, amazing statues of these. No one knows. No one will ever know who they are, because, again, all this stuff was torn down and destroyed, which is just truly just so tragic, so tragic. So these photos here have color, and just, again, the size, the water, everything. It's just really incredible when you wrap your hand around it. It just doesn't make any sense, and there's just no way it was built in 2 years, and in my opinion, not even 20, if that was even an option, but that's not what they say. Now, I'm going to leave you with this, because this final one is just funny. You're gonna laugh. Take a look at this Ferris wheel here. This Ferris wheel, it fit 5,000 people on it at one time for one go around. Look at the size of this Ferris wheel. That Ferris wheel held 5,000 people at a time. How? In 1893, how? There's so many hows when looking at these pictures. So many hows. And it just becomes we've been lied to, obviously, about that whole timeline. So what's going on? Now, I'm going to bring you more videos, and I'm going to explain what I think is going on. There's so many theories. Tartaria, if you've never heard of it, and then there's the Younger Dryas, but there's mud floods, and then there's just so much stuff that may have happened, and there's so many reasons why they would lie. So many. And there's also, who is they? And I will get to that too someday, but I'm taking it one piece at a time. And as I'm going, I'm trying to figure out my setup too. And I just figured out this in the video, finally, how to set my camera up so I don't just have to do, voice overs and, shots, like different shots. I can sit here and do this. So this is cool. So thank you guys so much. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hit subscribe, hit follow, hit like, follow me on Rumble, because I'm going to put everything up there, all my long form stuff, in case I get kicked off YouTube, which I probably will eventually. And then Instagram, Andy John the Creator. I have multiple accounts these days because I get censored like crazy. So let me see, what can I do for you? Andy John the Creator. I have Person of the People Media. I have AJ the Creator for President. Thank you all so much. Seriously. And this stuff is so fun for me because I love looking into stuff. I love researching stuff. I love learning stuff. So I'm learning. Hopefully you're learning. Hit that button. See you guys. And girls.